So in today's video, I'm going to dive into my 5 top tips to help give you more club head speed. Now, in the last 20 years of coaching, I can safely say I've never been asked how to hit the ball shorter. There is definitely an advantage of having more distance off the tee, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So getting the sequencing right, in my opinion, gives us the best opportunity to get our strongest muscles into the golf swing and actually allow energy to go through our body and into the club. Now, when we talk about sequencing, there's one area that I really want to go after, and that's what happens at the very top of the backswing. Now, when you look at some of the best players in the world, at the top of the swing, the first thing that moves is the lower body. It's the handle of the whip, I always call it. It's your strongest muscles. We're getting them into play early. If you think of a whip, the last thing I want to do with a whip is get the tip of the whip, or the club in this sense, to move before the handle. That's then really bad whip. So I want to have this feeling at the top of the swing. The first thing that happens in that change of direction from backswing to downswing is my lower body starts to swing. My belt buckle starts going towards the target, followed by my chest, then my lead arm, and then finally the club. When you look at the higher handicappers, that sequence doesn't tend to happen. We can either see the club moving first, that's that casting position. We can see the over the top, that's the upper body moving before the lower body. These are our strongest muscles. We want to put these bad boys into play, get the swing early. So at the very top of the swing, all I want to see is lower body, belt buckle, get into the target sooner, let energy go through the body and into the club, and you'll hit it further. So when it comes to the length of the backswing, I think this is a great opportunity to actually gain some club head speed. Now, there's 2 real ways to actually hit the ball further, in my opinion. We can either apply more force to the club, which then in turn gets club head speed, or we can apply more force for a longer period of time. Now, a really great example of this is if you look at, say, someone like Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm has not got a very long swing, but what he does, he applies a hell of a lot of force when it comes to hitting the golf ball. When we look at the other end, like say Dustin Johnson, who has a really long swing here, he applies a lot of force over a greater period of time. Now, a great way to think of this is if I was to put you on, say, a chair with wheels on, and I put you, say, a foot away from the wall, if I was to put you on that chair and push you into the wall from, say, a foot away, I could hurt you, but I'm not going to kill you. You're just going to be annoyed at me. But if I took that chair and I moved it back 20 feet, now I've got a run up. Now I've got what we call ramp time. I can actually generate more power because I can apply force for a longer period of time. Now, if I hit you into the wall, now we've got some problems. And we can kind of look at this a different way in this golf swing. We can either get short and get stronger in the gym, push harder into the wall. Jon Rahm is only here, but he applies a lot of force at the golf ball, or we take the club a long way and we try and apply that force for a greater period of time. Now, there's a couple of things that golfers do when they try this. I think it's really important to actually figure out from a timing point of view, because your timing is going to be off if you change your backswing, is you can apply a lot of force if you're here, but of course the timing can be out. So it takes a few swings, I think, just for the brain to self-organize, just to calibrate what you need to do to square that club face up. But when you're on the driving range next, just experiment, taking the club longer, see how far you can get it back, because actually you've got more time to generate speed and generate more power. So getting your weight into the golf ball is such a big thing when it comes to actually hitting the ball further. And I always use the analogy, if I was throwing a golf ball down the fairway, I would want my body weight into the shot to release that ball. The last thing I want to do is my body weight going in the wrong direction. Yet, how many times do you see golfers actually hit a shot and they almost fall off backwards? Where's energy going? Unfortunately, it's going in the wrong direction. I want to feel at the top of the swing here, we're shifting that pressure into that lead side. We're getting our body weight to follow, and it stays over onto that left side. The last thing I want to see is you falling back. Actually, I quite like it when golfers hit one and they wander off down the fairway. For me, that means energy has got to the target. Now, the real key with all of this is the timing of when this happens. And when you see a lot of good golfers at the top of the swing, the first thing they do is this pressure shift from right to left. They're getting that force into that left side. For me, as a right-handed golfer, I'm getting into this lead side, then I'm turning through. I don't want to do it down here. Imagine if the swing was down here and then I shift. That's not a very good swing. Imagine if I was throwing a ball and I started with the arms and then I did the weight shift. That doesn't really help me. And actually, I think a throw is a really nice way of thinking about it. When you look at other sports, say like baseball, pitchers are do it amazing. They're on a mound and they're on a mound for a reason. When you come off the mound, you hit the ground. When you hit the ground, what does the ground do? It hits you back, puts more force through you, and allows you to generate more power and more speed. But the big one there is a weight shift. Weight shift starts everything. That pressure shift from right to left is really important. So a lovely feel you can do on the golf course and on the driving range is get used to in that change of direction from backswing to downswing, you're really getting this sensation that you're pushing into your lead foot before the club starts swinging. I don't want the club to start swinging. I don't want my arm to move before I throw. I want to get this sensation that I'm shifting my weight, I'm keeping it there, and then I'm allowing that energy to go through my body and into the club. But when we're looking at the speed of the backswing, I always think this is a wonderful opportunity to hit the ball further and something we can learn from the biggest hitters in the world. When you actually look at them, they're not slow on the way back. I always think speed in the way back is great if you're trying to add more power. You want to put more power into the system. So a really fast backswing can really help. If you're working on positioning though, that's different. If you're on the driving range and you're trying to get into a better position at the top of the swing, yeah, if you can't do something slowly, you're not going to do it fast, right? So it's really important to take your time on the way back to enjoy and get used to and learn those different movements. But once you have those movements and we're now trying to add more power into it, we definitely see with the biggest hitters in the world a faster backswing take place. I was thinking if I was trying to jump as high as I could, I wouldn't go slowly down into this squat. It would be relatively fast to give me that nice spring effect. Same thing happens in the golf swing. I always think a nice fast backswing puts more energy into the system, gets us loaded, and gives us the ability to swing faster. So making sure that we release energy at the right point is of course massively important. If we were to release energy early or late, well, it's kind of pointless. If I think of my swing, if I release energy all the way up here, like say some of those casters of the world, well, by definition, that's my fastest point. So I'm now slowing down to the golf ball. I want to feel that energy is going through the body and we're trying to release all that energy at the point of impact. So one of the ways that you can look at this from a release point of view is if I was to go to the top of my swing, when we see those early releases, those casters, that's when you see the club and the wrist unhinge this way. It's like a fishing cast. We're trying to release energy here. I like to feel like this club actually falls closer to you. This is what's called lag, when we actually get the club loading. What we're doing here is we're loading our wrists to then release all this power. The wrists hold a lot of power in the swing, and actually getting them to release naturally and at the ball is, of course, massively important. A lovely drill you can do is actually just feel like we're actually trying to speed up past the ball. But what I like to do is just put a tee or something just ahead of you, about 2 foot in front. Pretend like you've actually hit a shot and just see what happens to the wrist. At this point, I'm extended, my body is facing that ball. And what I'm trying to do is get this feeling of as I do a swing, I'm trying to return back to that nice position. I don't want to feel I'm going to cast it because a cast can lead to a scoop, which just leads to really poor contact. I want to feel you're releasing it at the ball, which means you're releasing it as late as possible. Now, the one caveat when it comes to lag is it's so important you don't try and force it. I don't want you to people forcing these angles. Forcing it means it's wooden and no good can come from a wooden swing. There needs to be a nice dynamic flow to the whole thing. And actually your arms are nice and soft, your wrists are nice and soft, and the power muscles, your legs, are doing all the work. If they get out of the way, it's so much easier to let the club fall behind you to then unhinge at the right point. Do that and you'll start adding some speed and power to your shots. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Have some fun on the driving range trying these tips and let us know how you get on.